The chase for happiness and why we never seem to catch it. Have you ever noticed how the more we chase happiness, the more it seems to run away from us? We tell ourselves, once I get that promotion, I'll be happy. Once I meet the right person, everything will fall into place. Once I achieve that one big goal, I'll finally feel at peace. But then, we get there and sure, there's a flicker of joy. A brief sense of relief. But it fades. It always fades. And almost instantly, a new desire replaces it. A new goal appears. The chase begins again. It's like we're running on a treadmill, sweating, striving, chasing, but never really arriving. In today's world, happiness is marketed like a product. Social media floods our feeds with curated smiles, flawless vacations, and highlight reels that scream, "Look how good life could be if you just had this." Advertisements whisper, "Buy this. Wear this. Drive this. And you'll finally feel better." It's subtle, but powerful. We are trained, often unconsciously, to believe that happiness is out there. Something to be earned. Bought. Won. Conquered. But what if that belief is the very reason we feel so unfulfilled? What if the problem isn't that we don't have happiness, but that we are looking for it in all the wrong places? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. The more we believe that happiness is something we have to chase, the more fragile, fleeting, and unreachable it becomes. So today, I want to invite you into a very different conversation. Not about how to get happiness, but how to return to it. Because perhaps happiness isn't a destination we need to reach, but a place within us we've simply forgotten how to visit. Let's begin. The root of suffering: craving. Let's slow down for a moment and ask a deeper question. Why do we suffer, even when our lives seem fine on the outside? According to the Buddha, the root of suffering isn't in what we lack, but in how we desire. In ancient Pali, he called it tanha, which means thirst, craving, deep wanting. It's not just about material things. Tanha shows up in many forms. The craving for pleasure. The craving for success. The craving to be seen, recognized, admired. It sounds so human. And it is. But here's the twist: the Buddha didn't condemn pleasure or success. He pointed out something more subtle: how our attachment to these desires keeps us restless. He once said something striking. There is no fire like passion, no shark like hatred, no snare like ignorance, and no torrent like craving. Think about that. Craving isn't just a feeling. It's a force. It burns, it hunts, it traps, it sweeps us away like a flood. And the more we feed it, the stronger it grows. Have you ever wanted something so badly, a job, a relationship, recognition, and the moment you got it, your mind had already moved on to the next thing? It's like a monkey, hopping from branch to branch, never resting. That's what craving does. It tricks us into thinking that happiness lies just beyond where we are now. But once we get there, the finish line moves. A new goal appears. A new hunger stirs. We become addicted not to the object, but to the chase itself. And here's the difficult truth. Even if we get everything we want, we still suffer. Because craving doesn't stop. It doesn't want to stop, it only knows how to reach. This might sound heavy, but it's actually freeing. Because if craving is the root of suffering, then peace doesn't come from getting more. It comes from understanding our wanting and gently loosening its grip. So next time you feel that surge of, "I need this to feel okay," pause. Ask, who's really speaking right now? Is it my truth, or just another whisper of craving, dressed in a new outfit? The more we become aware of it, the less power it has over us. And that awareness is the first step to freedom. Suffering comes from attachment, not objects. Let's take a moment to get really honest with ourselves. Is it the object that causes our suffering, or our attachment to it? See, the Buddha never said money, relationships, or success are bad in themselves. These are just things neutral in nature. But the pain begins when we start believing that we need them to feel whole. That without them, we are incomplete. It's not the car. It's the belief that the car will make us respected. It's not the relationship. It's the fear that being alone makes us unworthy. It's not the promotion. It's the idea that without it, we haven't made it in life. We become entangled not just with things but with the stories we build around them. And this entanglement creates a kind of loop. We want something deeply. We get it, and for a moment there's a rush. Relief. But it fades. And a strange emptiness creeps in. And so, what do? We chase something else. Want achieve relief, emptiness want again. It's like chasing the horizon. You can run forever, but you'll never reach it. This is what attachment does. It tricks us into believing that the next thing will finally complete us. But it never does. And that's where suffering is born, not in the things, but in our grasping. Let me ask you something. Have you ever gotten exactly what you thought would make you happy, only to feel a strange hollowness days or weeks later? Maybe it was a dream house, a romantic partner, an award, or even a number on your bank account. You told yourself, once I have this, I'll feel secure. I'll feel enough. But then it wasn't enough. This isn't failure. This is human nature. It's the cycle of attachment, and it's been repeating for thousands of years. The Buddha saw this pattern clearly. He didn't tell us to reject life. He simply invited us to see through the illusion, to realize that true peace doesn't come from clinging, but from letting go. So, how do we begin to release that grip? It starts with awareness. Simply noticing when the mind says, I need this to be okay. Then gently asking, do I? Is that true? Who would I be without this need? The moment we question the illusion, its power begins to fade. And what's left behind isn't emptiness, but space. Spaciousness. Freedom. When we no longer chase happiness through things, we start to experience joy in spite of them. We stop running. We start resting. Not because we gave up, but because we finally woke up. Happiness is not found outside. Let me ask you something quietly, something the world rarely asks anymore. What if happiness isn't out there? What if it's something you come home to, not something you chase? We live in a culture of reaching. Reaching for more money. More praise. More milestones. And we've been taught by media, marketing, even well-meaning friends, that happiness is a result. A prize for achievement. A reward after the work is done. But Buddhist wisdom flips that script entirely. The Buddha didn't describe happiness as something to be earned. He described it as something we return to. Like a lake that's always been calm beneath the surface, but the wind of our desire stirs the water, making it hard to see clearly. Here's a simple image that might stay with you. Think of a snow globe. When it's shaken, the tiny white flakes swirl chaotically, clouding the view. But if you just place it down and let it rest, the flakes settle. Clarity returns. Stillness reveals what was always there. Our mind is like that. When we stop stirring it with endless craving, comparison, and control, something beautiful starts to emerge, peace. The Buddha once said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. That's not just a nice quote for a wall poster, it's a map. It's pointing us back to the very place we forgot to look, within. You see, happiness doesn't scream. It doesn't glitter. It doesn't jump up and demand your attention. It whispers. It's subtle. It waits behind the noise. The more you reach outside of yourself, the further you get from it. But the moment you sit still, breathe, and just be, it begins to rise. Here's a thought experiment. Think of the last time you truly felt a deep, quiet joy. Not excitement. Not adrenaline. But peaceful joy. Was it during a moment of stillness? Maybe watching the sun filter through the trees, or hearing the soft laughter of someone you love. Chances are, that moment didn't require achievement or money or approval. It required presence. Happiness doesn't live in the next goal. It lives in this breath. This sip of tea. This moment of noticing how alive you are, right now. And yet, we've been conditioned to overlook it. To seek bigger, louder, shinier things, never realizing we are stepping over gold to chase glitter. So what does it mean to come home to happiness? It means learning to befriend the present. To stop seeing this moment as a stepping stone to the next one. It means looking inward not with judgment, but with curiosity and care. Because beneath all our striving, there is already a place of calm. a space of enoughness. And the only reason we don't feel it is because we've been looking in the wrong direction. So next time you catch yourself thinking, "I'll be happy when," pause. Ask gently, "What if happiness is already here, waiting for me to notice?" You might be surprised by what answers back. 3 gentle practices to end the chase. Let's be honest. Slowing down isn't something we are taught how to do. We are taught to achieve, to optimize, to stay productive. But when it comes to peace of mind, real, grounded happiness, none of that hustle seems to help. So the question becomes, how do we stop chasing happiness and start experiencing it? Not later. Not someday. But now. Here are 3 gentle practices, nothing extreme or mystical. Just small shifts that, over time, change everything. Practice 1. Contentment begins with gratitude. Instead of waking up and asking, "What am I still missing?" try asking, "What's already here?" It's a small change in words, but a massive shift in direction. Because the first question leads us into the loop of desire. The second brings us home to the present. Gratitude isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing the quiet gifts we usually overlook. A body that moves. A breath that arrives without effort. Someone who remembers your name. Sunlight falling through your window. When we practice noticing what is, the craving for what isn't begins to soften. Try this. Before bed tonight, write down 3 small things that brought you peace or comfort today. Not achievements. Just moments. It could be the smell of coffee. A kind text. That one deep breath before a meeting. Happiness grows where appreciation is planted. Practice 2. Observe craving without judgment. We all want things. That's human. But what's often missing is our ability to pause and watch the wanting. The Buddha didn't say desire itself is evil. He said clinging to it, believing we must have it to be whole, is what creates suffering. So the next time a strong craving appears, maybe it's for praise, or sugar, or a new gadget, just stop for a moment. Breathe. And notice the sensation. Where is it in your body? Does it feel tight? Urgent? Does it grow the more you resist? Now ask, is this permanent? Will I still feel this way in an hour? Most desires are like waves. They rise, crest, and pass. But when we react without awareness, we get swept away. Observation gives us space. And in that space, we find freedom. Practice 3. Daily stillness is a portal to peace. You don't have to sit like a monk on a mountain. You don't need incense or silence or fancy cushions. You just need a few minutes of stillness each day. Sit. Close your eyes. Feel your breath. Let the thoughts come and go like weather. Don't try to empty your mind. That's not the point. The point is to notice without chasing, fixing, or judging. This is the art of being with yourself. Not your to-do list. Not your performance. Just you, as you are. Even 5 minutes of this practice can change how the rest of your day unfolds. It's like tuning an instrument. The world may still be noisy, but you'll move through it in tune. These 3 practices aren't quick hacks. They are not designed to make you feel blissful overnight. They are quiet rituals that, with repetition, reconnect you to what's real. Because the goal isn't to become someone else. It's to become more fully yourself, less caught, less pulled, more aware. Gratitude roots us in what we already have. Mindful observation reminds us that desires are passing weather. And stillness helps us remember the sky behind it all. You don't have to do them perfectly. You just have to begin. So let me ask you, what's one small moment today you could meet with more presence? Maybe that's where happiness has been waiting all along. Understanding the cycle, wanting satisfaction, wanting again. Have you ever noticed how quickly satisfaction fades? You finally get that thing you've been working toward, maybe it's a raise, a new phone, a compliment from someone you admire. For a moment, it feels amazing. Like everything clicks. Like the chase was worth it. But then something strange happens. That warm feeling doesn't last. What felt fulfilling yesterday now feels neutral. Even a little empty. And before you know it, you're on to the next pursuit. Sound familiar? You're not broken. You're not ungrateful. You're just caught in a cycle your brain was wired for: wanting, getting, and wanting again. Neuroscience has a name for this: the dopamine loop. Dopamine is the brain's motivation chemical. It spikes not when we have something, but when we anticipate it. That means the thrill is actually strongest before we reach the goal. Once we get the reward, dopamine drops. We might enjoy it briefly, but the brain is already scanning for the next hit. The next product. The next title. The next shiny thing. This isn't just a modern problem. It's human nature. And the Buddha saw it clearly over 2,500 years ago. He described this loop of craving, fulfillment, and craving again as the wheel of samsara, the endless turning of desire. He didn't need an fMRI to know what we now confirm with science. Pleasure fades. Wanting doesn't. It's like drinking seawater to quench your thirst. The first sip might seem refreshing, but the more you drink, the thirstier you become. Because salt water was never meant to satisfy you. That's what our modern culture often hands us: salt water. Endless scrolls of content promising happiness. Advertisements that whisper, "This will make you whole." But nothing truly fills the space inside. Because the space isn't asking for more things. It's asking for a different relationship with desire. Now, here's where it gets interesting. We don't have to shame ourselves for wanting. Desire isn't evil, it's natural. The problem isn't the wanting. It's the unquestioned belief that fulfillment lies in the next desire. So what if we paused? What if we noticed that familiar rush of wanting and said, "Ah, here you are again." Not to push it away, but to understand it. To see the cycle clearly is the first step towards stepping off the wheel. Try this next time you feel that itch for something, maybe a snack, or a purchase, or someone's approval. Ask yourself, what do I hope this will give me? How long will the satisfaction last? What else is going on beneath this wanting? You might be surprised. Sometimes, what we really crave isn't the thing itself, but the feeling of being safe, seen, or enough. And those feelings, they don't come from outside us. They are cultivated inside, in how we relate to life, not what we extract from it. When we understand this cycle, not just intellectually, but emotionally, we gain a kind of freedom. We no longer chase happiness like a finish line. We start to feel it in the pauses. In the non-reactive space between wanting and acting. That space. It's where peace lives. So here's a gentle challenge. Next time you are on the verge of chasing something new, don't rush in. Just observe. Let the craving rise and fall like a wave. And remember, happiness isn't something we find at the end of the chase. It's what arises when the chase stops. The pause, power of inner inquiry. You don't have to give up everything. But maybe you give up the grip. Let me ask you something simple but honest. When was the last time you paused before acting on a desire? Not avoided it. Not repressed it. But actually sat with it and asked, do I really need this? If I don't get this, am I still okay? It sounds like a small moment. But it's actually one of the most powerful practices we can develop. Because that space, the pause, is where freedom begins. The Buddha never told us to give up the world. He didn't say we had to shave our heads or live in caves. He simply pointed to one thing: attachment. The stickiness of clinging. The mind that says, I need this to be happy. Desire itself isn't the enemy. It's the illusion that we are incomplete without the object of desire. And that illusion, it can quietly control our lives, guiding our decisions, shaping our habits, stealing our peace. Imagine this. You're walking through a store and see something beautiful. Maybe a new gadget, a jacket, or some perfect home decor. Immediately your mind whispers, that would make life better. Pause. Not to shame the wanting, but to look deeper. Ask, where is this coming from? What am I really hoping to feel by getting this? More often than not, we're not just craving the thing. We are craving a feeling, belonging, status, safety, love. And those feelings, They don't live inside a shopping cart. They live in your relationship to the present moment. This is why pausing is so radical. In a culture that says, act fast, don't miss out, treat yourself now, stopping to reflect is an act of inner rebellion. And in that rebellion, you may discover something quiet but powerful. That you're already okay. That without that item, that praise, that outcome, you're still whole. And that realization, it changes everything. When you pause before the chase, you begin to see the chase. You see how many of your so-called needs are really just habits of the ego. The ego says, I need to be admired. The pause says, what if I just need to be real? The ego says, I can't rest until I get this. The pause says, maybe peace comes from letting go. It's subtle. But this subtle shift creates a deep inner spaciousness. The truth is, most of the time we're running not toward joy, but away from fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of missing out. Fear of discomfort. But when you pause, even for a few seconds, you stop running. You meet the fear. You meet the craving. You meet yourself. And in that still meeting, you discover something sacred. Not the temporary joy of acquiring, but the lasting peace of not needing. So next time a craving arises, whether it's for food, attention, success, or escape, try something different. Don't suppress it. Don't act on it. Just pause. Breathe. Ask. Wait. And see what truth quietly reveals itself. You may find that what you truly need is already here. Happiness is a return, not a destination. There's something magical about watching a child. Have you ever noticed how effortlessly they find joy in the simplest things? A puddle of water. A falling leaf. A smooth pebble held in their tiny hands. No goals. No pressure. Just presence. Just wonder. But somewhere along the way, we lose that. We grow up, and suddenly joy becomes a reward, something we have to earn. We chase it in jobs, relationships, travel, achievements. We think happiness lives out there, beyond the next goal, behind the next door. But what if the opposite is true? What if happiness was never something to be achieved, but something to come home to? Buddhist wisdom whispers this gentle reminder. You don't need to become someone else. You only need to return to yourself. Not the self shaped by society, expectations, or fears, but the self that simply is. Quiet. Aware. Alive in this very breath. And when we talk about returning, we don't mean going backward in life. We mean shedding what's not essential. The noise. The pretending. The endless proving. We mean coming back to what was always true before the world told us otherwise. Think about the things that bring you genuine peace. Not excitement. Not distraction. But that deep, grounding peace. Maybe it's sitting on your porch with a warm cup of tea. Or walking under trees with no phone in hand. Maybe it's hearing your dog breathe softly beside you. Or sharing a quiet look with someone you love, no words needed. These aren't grand, Instagram-worthy moments. They are not impressive. But they are real. And that's the thing, happiness doesn't dazzle. It settles. It lives in the present. In the tiny spaces we often overlook while rushing toward the next thing. So why do we miss it? Because we are conditioned to add more. More goals. More effort. More self-improvement. But what if the answer wasn't in adding, but in letting go? Letting go of the idea that your worth is somewhere in the future. Letting go of the belief that you'll only be happy once everything is perfect. Life doesn't need to be perfect to be beautiful. You don't need to arrive to be whole. Sometimes the most healing thing we can do is pause and simply say, this moment is enough. I am enough. And it's in that return. Not to some grand version of ourselves, but to the quiet truth of who we already are. That we find happiness. Not a firework of emotion, but a still, steady flame. So next time you feel lost in the search for happiness, don't look outward. Don't speed up. Don't try harder. Just stop. Breathe. Feel the ground beneath you. Notice the wind on your skin. Return. Because the joy you're seeking was never lost, just waiting for you to come home. Happiness is a return, not a chase. If there's one illusion that quietly governs modern life, it's this. Happiness is just one step away. Just one more promotion. One more trip. One more relationship, accomplishment, or self-improvement plan. We are always almost there, but never quite home. It's like standing at the edge of the ocean, reaching for the horizon. No matter how far you swim, it always stays out of reach. But what if happiness was never meant to be chased? What if the biggest secret is happiness was never missing? We just stopped noticing it. Imagine this. You've been searching for your glasses for hours only to realize they were on your head the entire time. We laugh when that happens. But in life, we do it all the time. We look for fulfillment out there, in the future, in something more. And all along, the peace we long for is right here, in this breath, in this moment. The Buddha didn't promise us a life without challenges. But he did show us a path beyond suffering. Not by controlling everything, but by letting go of the grasping, the constant reaching for the next thing to make us whole. Because the moment we stop chasing happiness like a finish line, we also stop running away from ourselves. And that, my friend, is the beginning of coming home. You may be surprised. Peace doesn't always arrive like fireworks. Sometimes it's just the sound of silence after the noise fades. The gentle pause after a long breath. The moment you look up from your phone and notice the sunlight dancing on the wall. Let this video be a gentle nudge. Not to give up on joy, but to stop outsourcing it to the future. You don't need more. You need less striving, less proving, more presence. Because happiness isn't a destination. It's a return. To the stillness. To the now. To you. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, pause a little longer today. Take one slow breath. And simply remember, you're already home.